it's England or Australia. We'll definitely know in the next 2 hours.
And definitely Australia is going to, Stadium Australia rather, is going to play host to the highly anticipated semi-final clash between the tournament co-hosts, which is Australia and England's Lionesses. Of course, that game is set to start anytime from now. Well, we'll see how things pans out to be between that game, but definitely we'll give you update of how the game between Spain and Sweden ended yesterday. I am NENGI ERNEST-ADEMOLA, and thanks for joining us on the midweek edition of Sports Spring on Western Spring Television. And
just as you can see on screen, my name is Joseph. ATEWEH, we told you earlier, which has been a trend since the 9th edition kick-started. We're starting with the FIFA Women's World Cup, and is it a surprise that the Spanish team are through to the final?
It's not a surprise, although I did predict that Sweden was going to get to the finals, but definitely it's not a surprise for me. For Spain, that's the La Roja women to be able to get into the finals, judging from what they were able to do from the group stages down to the round of 16, and of course the quarterfinals down to the semi-finals. Definitely they do deserve what they have at this point in time. And recall yesterday I talked about the fact that Spain didn't have the opportunity to participate in the FIFA Women's World Cup until 2015, and ever since then they've not been able to get past the round of 16. But this time around, they proved the bookmakers wrong, and definitely they're into the finals. And just to give you update as it stood yesterday, just in case you missed out on that one, Captain Olga Carmona scored an 89th minute winner to spark wild scenes of jubilation among the supporters at Eden Park, Auckland. Now, Sweden, who have now lost back-to-back World Cup semi-finals, had equalized through Rebecca just 93 seconds earlier, and it looked like the match would be going into extra time. Now, a game of few chances had sparked into life when substitute Salma, who is 19, gave Spain the lead with just 10 minutes remaining, and definitely they will face England or Australia in the finals in Sydney on Sunday. Joseph, I think it was quite a nice one. The 19-year-old, this should be the goal she scored yesterday should be a second goal for Spain. So far, so good. I think Spain has been phenomenal.
They've been fantastic. I said this in my analysis yesterday that, I mean, after that Brazil defeats the South and the ends of Japan, they learned their lesson, and of course they've grown stronger. So it's no surprise that they're through to the finals of the FIFA Women's World Cup, and that's how we stand at the moment. And they've scored lots of goals. They've also shipped in goals plenty this season.
I think they've had 15 goals so far. That's talking about from the group stages down to the round of 16, and of course the quarterfinals. They've had 15 goals.
Well, they've scored
which is
goals
highest.
plenty, and of course considered so many goals. I'm not surprised that Spain is through to the final, but then we'll wait to see what happens today. 11 a.m. it starts between England and Australia. The build-up is on, and there's a lot of talking points at the moment. The odds are already stacked in favor of Australia. Surprisingly, the odds are in favor of Australia to go through to the finals. But then the Lionesses knows what is at stake. They've learned their lesson, most especially, as I say, against the game against Nigeria. So I think these girls have grown stronger, and they just need to scale through this hurdle and get to the finals and have one of their best players back in Lauren James. And that's why they look very good for the finals.
Well, we'll see how things pans out to be. The game starts by the hour of 11 a.m. today. I tell you for sure, all the bookmakers, everyone reporting across the dailies, of course, the odds are stacked in favor of Australia. And you might want to put it that there's been a rivalry as it concerns sports between England and Australia. I remember the Ashes as a cricket team, the women's national team, they did win England in the just completed cricket Ashes competition. I think sometime last month, if I'm not mistaken, right here. And aside from that, in the women's netball, we also had Australia holding down England at that point in time to retain their world championship. Talking about the netball World Cup that just ended last month. So let's see how this rivalry can go, because Australia are no pushover. Even Sarina Wiegman has talked about this over time. But let's see what England can be able to do at this point in time. So many people are in favor of England getting into the finals of the 9th edition of the FIFA Women's World Cup. So I tell you for sure it's going to be a bumpy ride at the sport.
Definitely, we can't wait. So we have a first finalist in Spain. We're waiting to see what happens between England and Australia. The Sunday will be played on Sunday. The final rather will be played on Sunday between Spain, and whoever wins in the game Australia-England. So the party will kickstart at the Brisbane Stadium by 11 a.m. this morning. Our eyes, of course, will be on that game. And trust us tomorrow to give you all the breakdown of how the match went. And we can't wait to see the two finalists who will be playing on Sunday Time, of course, will tell. Now, let's come back home and talk about the Nigerian Football Federation. They tell us, they say rather, that the fate of JOSEPPH and the Radi Waldron will be known in September.
Absolutely. Now, according to the Punch newspaper, President of the Nigerian Football Federation, that's Ibrahim Gusau, says the NFF will put to rest the lingering contract issues of the Super Eagles and the Super Falcons coaches before their respective assignments next month. Now, this is coming in the wake of the uncertainty over the contract of JOSEPPH, who handles the Eagles, that's the Super Eagles, and Randy Waldron, who just led the Falcons to the round of 16 at the 2023 Women's World Cup in Australia and New Zealand. Now, both coaches are deemed to have seen out their respective contracts with the NFF, but Gusau, while speaking on the radio station yesterday, said the NFF would make a decision on both coaches next month, which is the month of September. And Gusau, according to him, and I quote, "We are still on it, and very soon Nigerians will get the information of where we are about the issue of the coaches. As you know, next month, the Eagles have the last match of the AFCON qualifiers against Sao Tome and Principe. So before then, everything will be concluded. We do hope that everything will be concluded and it would not, get into a further mess as it stands."
All right, so as it stands now, we understand that there should be a decision to be taken by the NFF if JOSEPPH will continue as the Eagles coach in September, and to see if he extend his contract. And there's been mixed reactions coming from football fans and stakeholders if JOSEPPH should still remain as the Eagles coach. I believe we must have learnt a lesson from what happened in 2021. Months to the African Cup of Nations, sacked the coach Janet Rohr and brought in Augustine Guavon, who did well at the group stages, but lack of experience cost us against Tunisia. And that was widely said by football fans that because we should have gone through. And I believe if Janet Rohr had stayed, Nigeria would have done better at the African Cup of Nations and scaled through, because that was our tournament. We showed from the start that we're ready to conquer Africa and win a fourth title. But unfortunately, we have heads who probably don't really know what it means to handle sport, in my own opinion, changing a coach months to a major competition like that. Now, the African Cup of Nations will start in January. We're talking about knowing the fate of these coaches in September. Yeah. God forbid we change these coaches, most especially that of the Super Eagles, to bring in a new coach. I'm wondering the time frame, how many months does he have to
assemble
put these players together? So continuing to say is key. Only, I believe what they should do here is insert a clause in that contract and that there's a certain stage you must reach, and if you don't, you'll be sacked immediately. That's how it will step up. But then if they change coach, it will take the grace of God, because look at it, the history of the countries has won the African Cup of Nations. As a matter of fact, you have countries win the African Cup of Nations with homegrown coaches the most. Only a few of foreign coaches have done that. And we might also make history if JOSEPPH is left. Yes, we have issues with the selection problem, but then I don't think it should be changed, because that's the decision that we're taking in September. And
just to buttress on what you've rightly stated, talking about the clause now, Eagles coach Pesero was appointed in May 2022, but the clause of qualifying and reaching the final 2023 AFCON in Ivory Coast, which will now be played in January 2024, has cast doubt on whether he will continue on the job till next year, as his contract is reported to have expired. So talking about the clause there, right there, you have it. The clause was him reaching the finals for the 2023 AFCON in Ivory Coast, which has now been postponed to January 2024. So it is still a dicey situation right here. But then the NFF president has assured all Nigerian fans, football fans, talking about the fact that that will be decided next month, which is the month of September.
All right, still with the Nigerian Football Federation, the president's Nigerian Football Federation, Ibrahim Gusau, has blamed their inability to pay teams players bonuses on lack of sponsors. Gusau made this known on Tuesday during the federation's peace parley with the Federal House Representative Committee on Sport. And that is why they've not been able to pay bonuses. Isn't it sad, Nengi, that a brand as big as the Super Eagles of Nigeria, one of the most populous country in the world, black nation I should say, it's finding difficult to attract sponsors. So I find that very hard and difficult to believe. So I believe what these guys were saying at the House of Representatives doesn't go down well with me. Absolutely.
I do not think that at this point it goes down well with anybody, just like you've rightly stated. It is just once and for all, that as big as we are, the Super Falcons...
Because individually, these guys, they pull brands for themselves.
Exactly, that's the point now. So what is going wrong at this point in time? Because I think these people need to go back to the drawing board and look at what exactly is wrong. Because you talk about our local leagues is very hard to even get sponsorship. You talk about the national teams as big as the Super Eagles of Nigeria, very dominant in Africa, the Super Falcons. We're finding it difficult to even gain sponsorship at this point. So a lot has to be done. And I believe they do know what has to be done at this point in time so that, you know, things can change for the better, so that we would not have to be going back and forth on the same issues of bonuses being paid. Of course, we talked about the just concluded part of the Super Falcons of Nigeria, talking about the fact that FIFPro actually, they wrote to FIFPro took it up from there. We had so many other star players who played their trade in other leagues, popular leagues in the world, also came out talking about these bonuses. And right here, the NFF has said that it is due to sponsorship issues. That is why they are not being paid, or that is why they are being owed bonuses.
All right, let's talk about the Congress, Nengi. It will be holding in October. That's the information we have. The Congress, that's the NFL Congress, will hold in October, where key decisions will be taken, and of course, discussions on matters that matter the most will be holding right there in Abuja.
And definitely one of the matters just has to do with sponsorship issues. Now, the Nigerian Football Federation, that's the NFF, will have its next annual General Assembly meeting on 22nd October 2023. The president of the Federation, Ibrahim Musa Gusau, made this known on Tuesday in Abuja during the peace parley with the Federal House of Representative Committee on Sport. Reacting to when the Federation's 2022 account would be audited, Gusau responded that it has been audited but will be made public after the Congress approval. And the Federation president, however, failed to mention the hosting state and venue as it concerns the next Congress, which is slated to hold on the 22nd of October. And in the same vein, the General Secretary of the Federation, Sanusi Mohammed, told the House Committee on Sports that all NFF previous years audited accounts are displayed on the Federation's website, which is the nff.com. So definitely, if you want to get a glimpse of how that stands, you can easily go to the nff.com and see all of those information.
Now let's move away from that. Finally, on the local scene, let's talk about the D Tigers. We spoke about them yesterday, and they had a chance to scale through only if they defeated Mali, but we know they're out of the competition. Now, the power of the Nigeria's D Tigers continued in the ongoing pre-Olympic qualifying tournament in Lagos as they suffered another defeat to Mali. The Nigerian side started the tournament on a losing note to Senegal on Monday, but were unable to change the story in the second game against Mali. The host dominated the first quarter, and they were able to secure a 17-15 win. They continued their dominance in the second quarter, 143-38 going into halftime. Mali woke up to their game in the third quarter, but still lost to Nigeria 61-53, while the effort of the French-speaking king paid off in the final quarter as they took over the game and won eventually 77-66. The result means the Nigeria's D Tigers is out of the 2023 FIBA pre-Olympic qualifying tournament.
Absolutely, that is how it stands for the Tigers of Nigeria, and that pre-Olympic qualifying tournament is taking place rather currently in Lagos, and we lost the very first one against Senegal, lost the second one against Mali, which is not a good thing to write home about. And this would be the first time that Nigeria will be missing out on the on the Olympics since 2008. Now, at this point in time, I do not think that talent is our issue. We have a whole lot of talent. But then, just to quickly read a tweet from the NBBF page, where they retweeted from the Tigers Nigeria basketball page, they said, "Kudos to the players for showing up to fight for Nigeria in Lagos, despite lack of preparations, facilities, and last-minute planning from the Federation and government. They fought." So there we have it. We do not need to talk much about this, but we do understand the fact that the NBBF is aware that a whole lot of things are going wrong at this point as it concerns basketball for the male version. Lack of preparation, lack of facilities, and last-minute planning from the Federation. This just spells it out. They know their problem, so I believe they can be able to know where they would want to start from at this point. But I think it's a very sad one that we lost this particular match against Senegal still in the fourth quarter, the very first match against Senegal were leading so well in the third quarters, getting into the fourth quarters, were messed up, were flopped. The same thing again. So we cannot keep casting blames on. Definitely everyone has a share in this blame together, but then our talents, they do really need to pick up from where they stopped ever since, and our coaches also need to put their eyes down, get a hold of this talent, and, you know, definitely do what they can. But fingers crossed, we'll see what pans out to be at the end of the day. But I'm quite happy about the fact that the NBBF can identify the problems of the Tigers of Nigeria, and we do hope it might be sorted out.
All right, we're out of the competition. That's what it stands. No matter how we try to sugarcoat it, we're out of the running. We need to go on a break here. When we come back, Kevin De Bruyne will be out for 4 months. The Super Cup takes place tonight. Manchester City versus Sevilla. And of course, the continued coverage of the 9th edition of the FIFA Women's World Cup, all on our cards when we return. Let's give you highlights from some of the matches played yesterday. And when we come back, our first destination will be the blue side of Manchester. We'll be back.